So-and-so wants specific questions about the position, so please bring some prepared questions beyond those silly standard questions like, when do I get a raise, and all those nonsense questions. As a candidate, you've all been taught, okay, to review your background and know your numbers. But I found out when I'm working with a candidate, we're preparing for an interview, I want them to actually get in front of a mirror. It's most effective. And be able to craft a how can I help question spontaneously. In other words, if I'm on an interview, okay, I want to be able to, whatever Charlie says, I want to be able to respond with a how can I help question. So Charlie's talking about a brand new initiative. Okay? I want a candidate to be able to craft a question. Charlie, based on that new initiative, where is it that you hope to plug me in where I can be of assistance and make some contributions early on in the process? So what I teach a candidate to do is practice asking how can I help questions. If you're driving, take the long way home, turn off the electronics, and just keep asking how can I help questions. Ask it on a topic, repeat it, say it a little bit differently, and go to another topic. I'll teach you to have 20 or 25 buzzwords. Things that may come up in an interview that you can craft a question. The beauty of this is you don't go into the interview with any prepared questions, unless, of course, the hiring manager wants that. But you can ask a question based on what they're talking about. You can be in sync with them. Suddenly, I'm not talking about all of my background. I'm finding out what is it you want. It's marvelous when you get in tune with that. If you want more details, I'd be more than happy to help you. Practice, how can I help? Better know your facts, okay? When you say that you reduced inventory 27%, and they say, how did you get those numbers? Where did those numbers come from? Know your numbers. Okay, don't fudge that, folks. Do the research.
Sold it.
I'm sorry?
Sold it.
Yeah, clean up your Facebook and then LinkedIn. Real research. To know who the CEO is or the president or the founder is and what their annual sales are is not impressive. Okay, again, prior postings, you've done that. You've looked up the interviewers. You've Googled them. These are the people you're going to meet. You better know who you're going to meet, where they go to school, okay, what were their interests, what are the interests today. You can look at employee profiles on a lot of web pages. Press releases. This is fascinating. Okay. Now, from press releases, you go to industry. Anybody know what an SIC is? Okay. Standard Industrial Code. Every company has it. There are dozens of them. Find out their SIC. Once you do that, you cross-reference it and find out what other firms have the same SIC. You see, Bayer does not have the same Standard Industrial Code as Novartis or Pfizer. They may have some that are similar, but the chances are they're different codes. But now you find out who is really Bayer's competition. Now you go to their webpage and you look at there and you find more terminology indigenous to that particular industry, that particular process. You're learning to speak their language. You're learning about them instead of studying about yourself. The other thing you can do is every company belongs to associations. The International Association of Electronics Manufacturers, or whatever it is. Find out what association they belong to. A little research, you can do that. Then you look at their periodical. Now you see what they're reading. Now you see what how their competition is advertising or promoting. You find out what lawsuits that association is defending or prosecuting. You want to understand an industry, that's research, folks. Jim?
Also, you can find out who they're partnered with for product development, what's in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The better you understand their business than just repeating every blessed thing you've ever done. Covered that earlier. Questions? I've got a question. Once upon a time, a long time, da-da-da-da-da-da. I had that happen with a candidate today. And I kept saying, but you said you had a question. Yes. But you said you had a question. Yes. Ba, 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 ba. I said, do you know what a question is? Yes. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. So, my philosophy. Questions, one sentence. One sentence. Now, what I'm finding is younger people having more and more difficulty with this. First of all, younger people have lost the art of communication because they do this, and that's not communicating. Okay? So to have a dialogue with them is difficult. But they haven't had the English teachers that I had when I was young. I mean, with the ruler and smack your head and scare the hell out of you. But anyway, sentences, questions begin with one sentence. They begin with how, why, where, when, and who. One question at a time. Had somebody on the phone last week. Had a question, yes. Must have asked 7 questions. He answered at least 4 of them and kept talking. And of course, as soon as I realized where we were going, I just shut up. And so there's a pause. And as soon as, I paused, and there's that pregnant pause. So he started talking again. And on and on and on. Okay? Doesn't work. Don't fall for that. One question at a time, and then shut up. And listen to the answer. What I learned here, there's people in sales here, sales support. Okay? This is a lot of the stuff you were taught years and years ago, or you learned through the process. But if you ask a question, if somebody asks you a question, the longer their question, the more they're giving you the answer. That's why when you ask a question, you let them talk and let them finish. I've never learned anything while I was talking. I can hear myself talk right now, but I'm not learning anything. The only time I learn is when I'm listening to somebody else. That's when I can learn. So you keep your questions in one sentence and let them answer and talk as long as they want. You've been taught to ask questions on interviews. Okay? And one of the ones that are typical is, why is this position open? And Tom, if you were to ask me that, you know what I'd tell you? None of your darn business, pal, because you ain't going to be here either. All you did was make me defensive. Now I've got to explain why we lost a great employee because we don't pay a lot of money. Or we lost somebody because she's been drinking on the job again. Or somebody's been looking at porn. Okay? Or somebody just, wife moved and relocated. But you've put me on the defensive. And now I've got to explain it. Okay? And whatever you learn as a candidate asking that question really isn't very, very helpful. But what if you said, who's doing the work now? And what can I do to build on their successes? Now that's the same topic, right? You're going to get a phenomenal amount of information that's useful, that you can use. And they'll begin to talk about the incumbent. Oh, she is terrific, she da-da-da, we hate to lose, da-da-da. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to tell you all the things he or she loved about that person. They're telling you what they hope to replace her with. Now you know their hot buttons. Okay, now they're telling you what they want. What is in my resume that is of most interest? It's a marvelous question. What is the strength of the department? And what do you hope I bring to the table to continue to move it forward? This one's scary. While I work for you, what's the one thing I should never ever do? You ask an employer that. It takes a certain amount of guts, intestinal fortitude. You'll learn an awful lot about them. But the same thing. While I work with you, what's the one thing, the director, we should never ever do? What's on your desk that I can help you with? Where's the pressure? What can I do to get some of the pressure off? What is your management style? And what can I do to be supportive? Can you ask that in an interview? Why not? You're asking about them. You're trying to find out what makes them tick. Where's their pain? Think of a doctor. When you go to the doctor, can you imagine, you come to Dr. Gary. You don't want to do that. And I say, hi, I'm Dr. Gary, okay? Let me tell you about my background. I went to school here, and then I went to there. I did my residency, I did my internship over here. And here's a plaque, I got an award, I won, da-da-da. And oh, by the way, I once had a patient, da-da-da-da. There you are sitting in pain. You don't want to hear about that. You want me to make the pain go away. Well, if you take that same analogy into the interview session, they want somebody to make the pain go away. Okay? And if you ask them where the pain is, a good doctor says, have you had it before? Does it run in the family? Do you have any similar things? Okay? How long have you had it? Does it come and go? What have you been taking? They're asking questions so they can find out and come up with a solution for you. With your expertise, where am I most apt to make the biggest mistake? With your expertise, where should I first focus my energies in order to be effective from day one? What type of continuing education should I be looking at just in case I'm the selected candidate? Rather than asking, do you have tuition aid? What kind of continuing education should I be looking at? Okay, let's play with this for a little bit. These are some topics. Okay, what I want you to do, I want you to think about it, and I want somebody to take any one of them and take what I just talked about and create and craft a how can I help question. Can we do that? Anybody want to take a shot at it? Jay?
What would you expect me to accomplish in the first 90 days of my role?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Anybody else want? Pick one.
About, like, what are your most pressing issues today?
And how can I?
And how can I, right?
There you go. This is another one. Yes.
I had heated the wind out of my
Okay, okay. Anybody else? I really encourage you to play with this and practice this. Get to the point where you can be standing in ShopRite and say, Eugene, how would you like me to line these things up on the conveyor belt to put it through that scanner thing? Or make it easier for you to package it into the bags? You can craft a how can I help question anywhere, anytime. So this is not about learning and practicing prepared questions. If you come in with prepared questions, odds are you're going to use it out of context. You're going to try and impress somebody. Oh, I'm going to score a touchdown right here. And you throw a question out of sync, and we wonder if you've been drinking again. Okay, where the hell did that come from? Okay? You want to be able to craft that question in perfect context, just based on where that conversation is. And if there's 3 people in a room, that's great. You can ask them all the same thing. Mike, how would you answer that question as opposed to Charlie's response? What are your specific needs? What can I do for you in purchasing while still supporting Charlie in the finance area? That's the question. We're talking about them.
Gary, how does the organizational chart, I mean, what's a question that would fit, are you?
Great topic. Carol, could you share just briefly the organizational chart so I can see best where I can be helpful and make some contributions? This is new. Imagine I dropped you in Vietnam tomorrow. How many of you would be fluent in 3 days? 3 weeks? It would take a while. We're changing the way you view yourself. We're changing the way you present yourself. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. But if you start the process and just stay with it, don't cram, you're not going to get it perfect in a week. Just practice this process. It's amazing in your present job, whether you're looking for work or not. Suddenly you're going to be a lot more effective. Suddenly you're going to be talking to somebody in the hallway, and they're talking about something, and you can just chime and say, gee, based on that challenge, what specifically can I do to help? Where can I jump in and take some of the pressure off? Because you stop thinking about yourself, and you start thinking of where you can contribute. And that's where the value comes from. You showing up for work every day does not add a whole bunch of value. You showing up for work and making some contributions and moving things forward, now you become a person of interest. Now when I need another leader on the team, we know who to talk to. Questions on this? Olga.
Is there a percentage split of time during an interview that you focus on different things like yourself and then the how can I help questions versus listening to them?
As a candidate, no, because they set the pace, they set the tone, they have the structure that they want. And as soon as you as a candidate begin to try and take that away, take control, it becomes awkward. And now you're fighting for the control. As an interviewer, yes, you want to have an outline. And I say outline, not a script. Okay, I know somebody was screened not recently, and five people questioning, and they had a script. They read the questions verbatim off a script. Okay, so, But we're going to cover something like that in the next slide, I think. Okay.
How many of those would you ask? How many of those topics? Is there a handful or?
Well, again, none of these might be in there, okay? Okay, preparation research. What type of research, what type of preparation, Frank, should I be looking at right now that I can study today, just in case I'm called back for another interview? Just in case I am the candidate you decide upon. Marvelous question. Well, I think you should be reading this and da-da-da-da, and you know what you can do? You go online and they're going to tell you what to do. That's what they want you to do. They've just given you the answer. If you ask, they will give you the key, the combination to the lock. You have to ask. And you better be serious, because if you're trying to BS them, they're going to read through it. Frank.
One, Carol, before the organizational chart. The other one I'm looking at is department's reputation. How do you present that question politically correct, for lack of a better word? Because you can say, what do you just want to say? How does the company view your group? I mean, you're all going to say,
I keep thinking, how can I help your department prepare its lousy reputation?
So now you just insult them and tell them to have a lousy
Don't do that.
reputation.
Frank, how are we perceived right now in the marketplace? And what can we continue to do to improve upon that? You're going to have a little bit more practice. That's why I say this takes practice. This requires you to stop looking in the mirror about how great you are, and you've got to begin to look at what they want. This is human relations, folks. That's all this is. People skills. That's all it is. Meanwhile, you've been told all these other things. You got to go in there. You got to sell yourself. Here, Rob, you've been told you got to sell yourself? Give you the visual. And
Oh, me.
what are you doing? I'm pushing, he's pushing back. When I'm selling, I'm pushing. They're pushing back. The more you sell, the more resistance you're going to create. So I say stop selling. See, nobody wants to be sold. We all like to buy, don't we? Anybody here don't want to buy? We all like to buy. We just don't want to be sold. That's the magic of it. Stop selling. Let them buy. Too often it becomes an interrogation. It becomes a head game. We're in charge and we're going to do whatever we want to you. The candidate is your guest. Treat him as a guest. Or employer. 2 ways to interview. Say, hide and seek. Don't tell them anything. And I know people who use this. They won't answer a thing. All they're going to do is quiz you and quiz you and quiz you. 90% of the time they're asking questions. They're not telling you, giving you any bearing. You have no idea where the heck you are. No compass whatsoever. And they expect you to hit the bullseye. That's one way to do it. Now my philosophy, and I teach my companies when they'll listen, show them the target. Tell them, take the first 15 minutes, tell them exactly what you want. Tell them why people are successful. Tell them what's going on great. Tell them everything you can in 15 minutes. And see how many times they hit the bullseye. I just told you what I want, Olga. Now, in the next 45 minutes, can you hit the bullseye each and every time? Were you listening? Or do you want to tell me how great you are? And that you did this, this, and this, which is irrelevant. 2 ways to interview. I suggest, show them the target. See if they can hit it. Explain that to be evaluated on who they present today. Your background is your background, and everything else, but you're going to be judged on everything you say today. Be candid about what's going on. If the director is a real ogre, let the candidate know she's a real ogre, but she's good and she's fair. The last thing a new employee needs is a surprise. So be upfront about it. You can color it in a way that's acceptable, that's politically acceptable, but don't pull strings. Don't pull fast ones. Ask them specifically, what have you learned about our business? What have you learned about our firm in your research? And shut up and let them run. Did they really do anything? No, I know that you make waffles, and I like waffles, and I like cream cheese. They didn't learn a thing. Here's what I really think you should get into. What are their values? Who are their heroes? Mentors, recent books, favorite play. What's their favorite movie? You want to begin to identify something about somebody, that's what you want to get into. You begin to learn their values. Okay? The biggest goal they've achieved? And talk about that a little bit. You're going to find out some things about them. What's their major goal? And what have they done recently to bring that to fruition. Where are you going to be in 5 years? I don't know. Paint me a picture 5 years from now. What do you see? A bit abstract. And they'll be abstract, and that's okay. But you're going to begin to see some of their values. In 5 years, I see myself in my own business. I said 5 years, I see myself on a sailboat in the Mediterranean Sea. What do they see? What is their vision? You really want them to open up. Evaluate them immediately at the end. Sit down and write the notes. I don't care what meeting you have pressing. Write notes right then and there so you don't forget. Be fair to them all. As a candidate, don't get stuck in the rearview mirror. Identify what they want. Remember the 80-20. Everybody wants something different. So if you meet 5 people, they should meet 5 of you. Okay? And they have to be real besides. That's critical. Everybody wants. Even if it's a panel interview. You ask the question, okay? And you answer the question, and you answer it for the accountant as well as the salesperson and the director of HR. Speak their dialect, beg their indulgence. You go in and you meet with Mr. Peterson, and Mr. Peterson says, have a seat. And before my bottom hits the chair, I say, Mr. Peterson, be a little patient with me. I am rusty at this interviewing thing. Mr. Peterson, be a little patient. I made a wrong turn. You don't know where I was. In fact, I don't know where I was. If you told me to call him Rob, be a little patient. I didn't sleep well last night. I was so excited about coming out here, I just couldn't fall asleep. Be a little patient. The baby was up all night last night I didn't know what to do. So if I look a little groggy, please understand. Somehow you beg their indulgence in the first 5 seconds. If you do that, let me show you what you've accomplished. The first thing you've done is you've honored their position. They have an ego just like you. Second thing you've done is you've put them in charge. And that means they don't have to wrestle for control of the interview. The third thing you've done is said, what you see is what you get. I'm a real person. And that's a breath of fresh air for an interview. Most important thing, you've disarmed them. There is no way Rob Peterson can sharpshoot me or ambush me. He's responsible for my comfort and safety. In 5 seconds, you beg their indulgence. Can you do it? Women do it beautifully. And it's always real. It's always real. Guys, do we have that testosterone stuff there? It makes us crazy. And the ego gets involved. Okay? It's genetics, folks. I don't know. I can't fix that one. 75 and 25. This and the 80-20 are maybe the most important things I'll talk about. Interviewing is 70% or more listening. Listening. That's not thinking about what you're going to answer. That's not wondering where your office is going to be, not wondering if you're going to get the right salary. It's listening to every word they said. Did they say MRP, or Materials Requirements Planning, or did they call it MERP? Or MERP 2? Whatever. Listening. 70%. The more talking you do on an interview, the worse it's going. There are exceptions to everything, but that's a general, right? Long time, Joe, huh?
Too long.
Okay. It's 5% asking the right questions. The right questions. The how can I help questions. Cliff.
So when I interview candidates,
Mhm.
I also try to follow that 75-25. I try not to talk, I'm trying to let the other person.
Exactly.
So we're wrestling for control.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the beauty of the interviewing process, because what's going to happen if you're both doing your job, you're going to wind up at about a 50-50, which is not too bad, but you're both going to learn something. Okay? If you've got them talking 70% of the time, you've learned a whole bunch. The candidate hasn't learned a bunch yet. Okay? Are they really qualified to make a decision at that point? Do they have the right information? So yes, you're at cross purposes, and generally the interviewer doesn't know it. HR may be aware of it. And really seasoned interviewers may be aware of the percentage, but most are not. And if you can break it down into a conversation, as opposed to an interview, I like to use the term visit. I've got a candidate who's going to visit with so-and-so tomorrow night. We're going to visit. It takes the stigma out of it. It's 25% or less answering questions. Now, that's the goal. We don't always achieve it, but that's the goal. The goal doesn't change. Our performance changes depending on the situation. I want you to think back. Think about the best salesperson you ever met. Think about it. You know what you're going to find? They were the best listener. I can think that. She didn't care about what she wanted and what she liked. If I wanted green, she'd say, well, it does come in red and yellow, and I wanted green, she'd deliver green. The best salespeople are not the ones who do the most talking. They do the best listening. And as a candidate, if you could listen, they're going to tell you what they want. They told you in the job description, they're going to tell you in the interview process. And you can go out in the plant, you can meet some of the people, and they'll tell you what they want. You've had that scenario before in your career, right? You listen. The customer will tell you what they want. Same thing. Like it or not, folks, you're in sales. Okay? And selling is listening. Oh boy. Do that again. Listening tips. You want somebody to talk? 4 things. 4 things you do when somebody starts talking. As soon as Jim starts talking, you know what I do? I lean forward. Jim thinks I'm interested. He's going to keep talking. And as he talks some more, you go, wow, really? Great, really, great. He thinks I'm in sync. Then I'm going to nod yes. Okay? He's talking, I'm going to nod yes. He thinks I agree with him. Then I'm going to smile. And my gosh, he thinks I really enjoy what he's saying. He won't shut up. Now, that's all of us, folks. It's not just Jim. Please understand. If you don't believe me, the next person you wind up talking to, you do those 4 things. Whether it's standing in the hallway, okay, on the phone, well, I'm sorry, you can't do it on the phone, or wherever it is. Whether it's a youngster, okay, or doesn't matter who it is. You do those 4 things and they won't shut up. It's magical. It means you're really interested in me, and I'll just blab and blab and blab. And guess what? The more he talks, the more I'm learning, or vice versa. Play with that one. Let him by. Anybody know Anthony Robbins? Yeah. Anthony Robbins is about 9 feet tall. I came up to his belt buckle. Okay. Didn't like him immediately. But he's a motivational speaker. One of the things he teaches is matching and mirroring. His concept is become a mirror image of the person you're with. Okay. Now you don't mock and you don't mimic. But if I'm sitting across from you, Eugene, and you begin to lean left, you're left, I can lean to, yeah, okay, that, okay? My military left, right. Anyway, if he fiddles with a pencil on his desk, I should fiddle with my fingers. If he had a southern accent, wouldn't be wrong for a little bit of southern accent to service. Of course, if he talked real fast, I'd talk a lot faster too, just like he does. If he moved his hands all over the place, he'd be a lot more animated. People like themselves. Become a mirror image. And when we're sitting in a panel interview, and you're talking real fast and moving hands, and then I'm talking to Jim, and Jim is a little bit more laid back, and I can just slow down just a little bit when I'm talking to Jim. But when I'm talking to you, Eugene, I'm going to talk a little bit faster. If you can do that, you're in sync with them. This is not manipulation. There's nothing wrong with this. This is knowing your audience and interesting them in something that they're comfortable with. You're making comfort. You create what Anthony Robbins calls instant rapport. Instant rapport. Try it. It's marvelous. I don't practice often enough. Ask them all the same questions. First of all, because they all have different answers. And if you say, oh, I asked Matilda that question, so I don't have to ask you a question. Well, I'm the most intelligent person in the company. If Matilda answered it, you didn't get the right answer, you have to come to me. Ask everybody the same thing. Even if you're in the same room, even if it's in a panel, ask them the same question. How would you answer that? See what their response is. What is their need? Answer their questions. Okay, man, that's important. Who here has done interviewing? Beautiful. Having a candidate sit in front of you and you ask them a question, and they dance around it, dance around it. I mean, it's over at that point. I mean, how much of that can it take? Answer their questions. Parry the money question. You don't have to answer it. Tom, if I asked you about your sexual preferences, would you talk about it on an interview?
I just walk away.
But the point is you wouldn't. Okay, now, all you have to do is put money in the same category. You wouldn't talk about one, you don't have to talk about the other. You can parry it. Charlie, if I'm the right candidate, and this is the right opportunity, I promise you money won't be an issue. Mike, I've never made a career decision based on money. I'm not about to now. You see what I was earning, Rakesh? That's what I was worth to them. I don't know what I'm worth to you. Now you can nuke them with, if I come to work for you, Mario, I'll give you my best efforts. In return, I'd expect your best offer. But you can't lead with that one, because that's really like nuking them. You don't have, or you can say, are you making me a job offer? Okay, no, they'll stop. You don't have to answer the question.
Gary, what's the question typically? How much money are you looking for?
What are you looking for? I don't think you should even give a range. No numbers whatsoever. If this is the right opportunity, if I'm the right candidate, money will not be an issue. Okay, I'm looking long range. 5 years from now, okay, things will work out. If this is the right opportunity, I'm not worried about it. Let everybody know you're interested. Ask for their contact. Ask for it. They may give it to you. They may not. Some companies do not give out contact information. Others do. You all heard the elevator speech, right? Who here has created an elevator speech in their career? Okay. Who here has listened to other people's elevator speeches? Has anybody been impressed with somebody else's elevator speech ever?
What's an elevator speech?
Donald Trump.
When asked a question, I forgot your first name, I'm sorry.
Elise.
Elise, what do you do? My name is Elise, and I do da-da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da-da, and I like to da-da-da-da-da-da. It's a rehearsed 30-second, sometimes it's even a 60-second response. It is so general, it says nothing. Okay, it's vague, it's nebulous, and it's boring as hell, because I don't know anything about you. Okay, you gave me this facade that I'm supposed to believe when we know it's not true, and I like to go on walks on the beach and, sing Kumbaya. Okay, so I don't believe in elevator speeches. What I suggest you do instead is know your audience. Know who you're speaking with. Okay? And share who you really are. This is scary, okay? But if you can get in tune with this process, it's magical. So the question, and I'm going to paraphrase things I've learned, I've heard candidates use over the years. And the question is, why should I hire you? Okay, or why are you a good fit here? I don't fail. That doesn't mean I won't stumble, fumble, and fall. I'll make mistakes. But I guarantee you this, I won't make the same mistake twice. I will learn from it. I'll come up with an alternative solution, and I won't embarrass you or the team, Mike, when I stumble, fumble, and fall. Real response. Because my dad taught us all 5 of us, to give our employer an extra 10% every day to make up for when we weren't doing our very best or concentrating like we should. And every one of us is very successful in what we've done, and I'm proud of that. Why should you hire me? Because at my age, I may no longer be the high scorer on the team. But I can tell you this, I'll give you all 48 minutes on the court, give you 2 overtimes. Playoffs, I'll give you 3. Well, I may not be the high scorer. I will have more rebounds than most, and I guarantee you I'll have more assists on the court than anybody else. Why should you hire me? Because there are 3 things central in my life. My family, my church, and my employer. And there are some times that my family just needs extra time, and it's my responsibility and obligation. I'll be there for them. Hopefully my employer will understand. But more times it's my employer who needs extra time. And my family knows that I will miss soccer games, recitals. Okay, I might miss a weekend or 2 because my employer needs me, and my family knows that's where my responsibility is. Why should you hire me? Because at this stage, I can't promise you the next 20 years. What I can do is I can give you my full efforts and commitment to this firm as long as we're challenged and I'm moving forward and I feel like I'm part of the team and I'm a contributor. The day comes that I'm no longer contributing, you won't have to let me go. I'll leave quietly. Why should you hire me? I'm an immigrant. I came to this country with no guarantees, or my family came here with no guarantees, and I don't need a guarantee from you or anyone else. If you give me an opportunity, I won't fail. Best one I ever heard. Why should you hire me? Because just in case you didn't notice, I am a short, black female. I've had to work 3 times as hard as most people to be taken seriously. And I'm thankful because it's made me a better person. Those are real stories, folks. That's a hell of a lot better than an elevator speech. It's got to be tailored to the person and the people you're with. When you can share who you really are, and I suggest you think about these things. Think about your values, your core values. We talk about all sorts of things. We talked about God, church. We talked about race. We talked about immigrant, all these things. Talked about children, means I'm married. All the things that shouldn't be talked about, we talked about. Okay. So this politically correct nonsense, we all practice it, or at least you do. I don't. I work very hard at not doing that, and I offend some people. Not to offend them, but I've got to maintain my own integrity. But it goes on. You can break it at certain places and walk out with a lot more respect. Okay? I don't suggest you bring a Bible on an interview. Don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should bring out all your kids' photos on an interview. I don't think it's a good idea. But I suggest you talk about your core values, your commitments. And if you can't do that with that particular employer, regardless of how great the job is and how much they're paying, would you really be comfortable? Because if you're working only for the money, we used to call it prostitution, folks. We can't use that term anymore, but that's what it comes down to. End of sermon. Follow up. How are we doing on time?
I
You hear that? You hear that?
Be covered what?
Okay. For the employer, explain the process and the timetable. Let them know what the process is. Ask for a handwritten follow-up note. Ask for it. Meet them 2 or 3 times. I suggest more than 1 round of interviews. I know some firms do it with 1 round of interviews. I've never agreed with it, but when they hired them, I'd send them an invoice anyway. So, I don't. Dine with the candidate. If it's over a clerical position, dine with them. You will find out a whole bunch about somebody over a meal. Not breakfast and not lunch, dinner. And something more than a Chili's, okay? Where you can dine for 2 hours. Now you get to know a person. See what that chemistry is all about. And this is from Dale Carnegie. You know what he used to say? Make sure they bring their wife. Again, this was 70 years ago, so he was a sexist. So for you ladies, bring your husband. Okay? We want to see that chemistry too. Very, very helpful. Speak with their references personally and in detail. Yes, HR says no references. But if they give you a reference, I'd like to call them personally. Will they take a personal call from me? I'm going to talk to them personally.
What does HR say about references?
HR says that companies cannot give out references on former employees.
Oh.
Okay? So that's standard SOP. You can get around that most times. If the candidate's really interested, they know somebody who you can talk to, that won't blow the whistle and sue everybody under the sun. Decide on a candidate. Okay, for a candidate, call the hiring manager. Those who know me, you know the drill. You call the person who's hiring somewhere between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. Hi, Ralph, this is Gary. Okay, now you're going to get voicemail, chances are. This is Gary Pezzuti. We met yesterday. I just called to tell you I'm excited about this. I got home, talked to my wife and kids about it. They're excited. Couldn't fall asleep. Got up this morning even more excited. If you need anything at all, I'll make it available. Simply ask, I'll make it available. Thank you so much for your time. Less than 15 seconds. You don't try and sell them. You don't tell them about all the wonderful things you're going to do. You just let them know you're excited. And you hang up the phone. Now, if they happen to pick up the phone, you do the same thing. Say, gee, Ralph, I didn't think you'd pick up the phone. I just called to tell you I'm excited about this. I really enjoyed it. Want to continue the process, take the next step. Thanks so much for your time. If you need anything, I'll make it available. Same way. Less than 15 seconds. Unless they engage you, you thank them for his time. I didn't mean to interrupt your morning. Jim?
What if there is a time though, you want a better time?
Yes. So if you have to get up at 2 in the morning, I don't care.
Okay.
That's why I have alarm clocks. Okay? But do it. Okay? I've never heard of somebody not getting hired because they call the hiring manager. Did it happen sometime on the planet? Perhaps. Okay? All you're trying to do is let them know where you are in this process. Then you send a handwritten note to everybody. Now, you really want to get good at this? You have the thank you notes in your car. You have a pen. You have postage. And you know where the local post office is. And you sit in the parking lot. And you write the handwritten thank you note to all 5 people. You go to the local post office and you put it in the mailbox in the post office. Guess what? The next morning, they get a handwritten thank you note. All of them. How serious are you about this process? Are you looking for a job or a career? There's the difference. Not any one of these things is going to get you a job every time. But you start putting a lot of these pieces together, It's amazing how your average is going to increase. Prepare your references. They're going to say your great things. They should say relevant things. They should have a job description that you applied for, and they should have a copy of the resume that you sent to the company. You don't want them to lie, but they should say relevant things. Make a second call in a week, and continue fishing. Keep fishing. On the offer end, for the employer, know what your budget is, know where your flexibility is. Think of alternate solutions like a sign-on bonus, we know that, titles. I had somebody who accepted $20,000 less because she wanted a director's title. Wasn't my decision to make. She was happy, I'm happy, they're happy, everybody's happy. You can ask for multiple, you can offer multiple reviews, so you can't budge over the base salary, but you give them 2 reviews within the first 12 months. Educational opportunities, additional vacation. Some companies have various benefit options. So as an employer, you have a budget you must stay within with minor flexibility, other things you can offer the candidate. Make it happen. As a candidate, be sure you really want to be there. That's first. You get a job offer. Before you decide, you've got to know, do you really want this? If you want it, you're going to make it happen. Okay, how do you make it happen? The first thing you do is the money exercise. Get a business card. Write down a number you know that you accept. So let's say the position, let's say you're making $80,000. Good. Okay, what number do you know you take? You know you take 100. Good, you write 100,000. 100K. You cross it out. And in $1,000 increments, you start working your way back. You take 100,000, good, put down 99. Would I take that? Yeah, good. So now you're down to 90. Oh, my God, they're trying to chew me down. They ain't chewing nobody down. You're doing it in your own hand. Would you walk away from 90? No. Good. Now you got 89. Now you're all the way down to 80. Only you were on the interview. You don't talk about this to anybody, especially spouse or friends. You need to know where your individual break point is because you're the one on the interview, you're the one who saw the whole process, and you're the one who's going to have to work there. So now you're down to 75. Would I walk away from 75? Yeah, I would. Good, so now that's your break point. That generally takes a few days to get to. So now they offer you 85,000. What are you going to do? Negotiate higher? If it came in under 75, you know it's no go. If it comes in over, the 75, you know it's a go, but doesn't mean you don't negotiate. Got that one? I went through it fast. Good. Let them know you're interested and set up a meeting, not a phone call, a meeting. Well, gee, we're a little bit busy here, and can't we do this over the phone? Say, I'm putting a lot on the line, my entire career's on the line, and a lot on the department. I'd like to spend 20 minutes, I'll bring the coffee and donuts, but there's too much to decide. I'd like to sit and spend the 15, 20 minutes face-to-face. I hope you can extend that. So you expect to get yourself a meeting, and you deal the cards. Let me show you what I'm faced with right now, okay? I was hoping for X amount of dollars, and I understand you have a limit to what you can serve. You begin to deal the cards of all the things that you're facing, okay? Hi, Noreen.
Hey, Karen.
First of all, salary, vacation, I was used to 3 weeks, you're only talking 2 weeks. Bonus percentage, I was hoping for 15 rather than 10. Sign-on bonus, I was hoping for, I've got to buy a new car. That's not your responsibility, but it's money out of my pocket. In order for me to come work for you, I've got to dig in my pocket, start a new car. So I was hoping for $10,000 sign-on bonus. Early reviews, multiple reviews, cost of COBRA, benefits, sometimes benefits are flexible, title, distance, work remotely, flex time, continuing education, APICS International Conference, or anything else. Those are all things. You deal the cards, so they may not be able to budge on base, and they may not be able to budge on bonus, but they might be able to budge on some other areas. So instead of pushing in one specific area and hit a brick wall and lose the whole thing, leave yourself options. There's a lot of other things you can put on the table. Although your wheels are turning.
My wheels are totally turning because this was my negotiation with the project that I'm trying to finalize, because I had to layer in, well, we're trying to cut costs, but we want a good partner and ensure quality, and I need, for X amount of millions of dollars over the term, I need to show savings to management, it's going to CEO, CFO, and there's integration, implementation costs that a rebate can offset.
Okay.
What do the numbers look like for you?
We're going to have to move on, but I saw something happening.
Yeah.
Okay, commit on the spot. Once you've gotten to the point where you've negotiated the deal, do not say, I've got to go home and talk to my spouse. You've been talking to your spouse for 3 weeks, or 3 months, depending on the interview process, be able to make a commitment right then and there. So spouse should know when you went there that I'm either going to sign the paperwork or I'm not. And spouse, got to be ready with that and comfortable with that. Make sense? Tonight, I wish you all the very, very best.